Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming with a big round of applause Mr. Ketan Mehta, sir, a visionary filmmaker and director at My Entertainment's Animation. Joining him, we have Mr. Vaibhav Kumaresh, sir, an Emmy-nominated filmmaker known for Return of the Jungle. On the panel with him, we have Mr. Jackky Bhagnani, sir, a dynamic producer at Pooja Entertainment. Next up, let's also welcome Mr. Mohammad Kheirandish, sir, a writer, director, and character designer with over 19 years of experience in animation. And with this panel, we have moderator Mr. Munjal, sir. I apologize. For this session, we have a moderator, Mr. Munjal Shroff, sir, a producer and director known for his creation, The Balti Boy. With regard to the question and answers, we shall take your questions at the end of the discussion, audience, so please hold on to your queries and your hearts. Now may I please request Mr. Ketan Kumar, sir, Joint Secretary Broadcasting, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and the Managing Director of NFTC to come and felicitate our esteemed guests. May I request our MD sir to say a few words?
First of all, there's also a bag waiting. I'm sorry I did not give it to you, but then it'll be given to you. A very good morning to such warm audience, and thank you so much for such esteemed panelists. The purpose of curating this session was that animation about 10-20 years earlier was supposed to be, cartoon was supposed to be only for kids. But now you all are witness to what anime is doing to the world, what animation is doing to creativity of conveying these stories. So our team at NFTC, they worked out that these are the most eminent people who have worked in the field of films and animation, and they know how to deliver stories which will also be appealing to not just to the youth, but also to the people with a mature sensitivity of watching. So thank you so much for all the esteemed filmmakers and associated animation producers, and being a part of our panel. Thank you so much. And I hope that the discussion will be so invigorating that all of you will get to learn a lot. Thank you.
Well, it's not any other day when we have such an esteemed panel joining with us, so I once again request our audience to keep their phones in silent mode. And may I now request Mr. Munjal Shroff to initiate today's engaging conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, NFDC. Thank you, Ministry of Information Broadcasting. Thank you, Batul sir. It's indeed a privilege and an honor to moderate such a distinguished panel. So, super excited. My request to the audience is that we will have questions, so please make a note of them, put them down, so when we open up the floor, we have them coming in quick. It's not every day you get such a amazing bunch of people to sort of address your queries. All of them come with loads and loads of experience, so please exploit them to the fullest. All right. Okay, so I think what we're going to do, we're going to keep this conversation a little freewheeling. Obviously, we'll talk about the kind of content that all of us have made, some of our considerations, whether it's creative considerations, business considerations, considerations for the demographic that we are considering when we are making content. You know, obviously, I think a lot has changed in the space of content consumption. I would say, particularly post-COVID, thanks to OTT. I think we've all have got exposed to a variety of content, not just from within India but across the world. You know, it's truly fascinating to see how even Indian audiences are consuming content from across the world. Fun fact, which sort of blew my mind, is that the largest fan base for anime today in India, can anybody guess where is it? Which city in India? Audience? Sorry? Yes, so the largest fan base for the content for something like anime is actually not Mumbai, not Delhi, okay, not Bangalore, or actually even, I was hoping it would probably be in the northeast, you know, but it's actually Patna, right? So it just sort of blew my mind to sort of see how content consumption has got so democratized, right? Access to content has become so easy, right? So in a time where, as creators, as producers, when you are now stepping into the market, pitching projects, how do you sort of deal with this new reality? I think it's exciting. It definitely is up the quotient of competition, you know, because also I think at a certain level it's challenging, because we earlier had television, we had cinema, obviously. YouTube was obviously there, you know, but I think post the OTT coming in, the level of curation of content and the quality of content has just gone to the next level. So, you know, reaching out to that audience is extremely difficult. Owning that audience is even more difficult, because now your audience is fragmented, right? How do you build your fan base? Do you build it on television? Do you build it on OTT? Do you build it on Insta? You know, what platform do you reach out to your audience? And as content creators, or as someone particularly in the animation space, when you're building your franchises, I mean, Ketan sir has a lot of experience with that, but you know, you have all these considerations into play. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is, we have a wonderful filmmaker from Iran, Mohammad. So we're going to start with looking at some of the work that he's done over the years. So he'll give us a sort of an idea of what's happening in that part of the world, and then obviously we'll dwell into the questions. I would request all of you to just hold on to the mics, please. Can we play Mohammad's work, please?
savior of music. So I call you Dolphin Boy.
One ticket, please. You need a ticket for her, too. Listen, there are two of us, but I've just one coin. We'll have to go our separate ways. Happy start the clock.
Skyframe presents.
Thank you. It's some really lovely work. Thank you for sharing this with us. So, Mohammed, can you give us a sense of, what kind of children's content get today produced in Iran? I mean, you obviously have been in this space for a very, very long time, and we spoke about the fact that you started your career with 2D animation, but I think it'll be very good to understand what kind of content gets produced today in Iran, and I also understand you collaborate with other countries as well, so please.
Excuse me for my speaking, my English speaking.
Can we also have a mic for the translator, please?
No, I got you.
Oh, you got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Excuse me for my bad speaking English. We were speaking
Yes.
in that room, but because of the audience, I have to and must better speak, and she translate for you.
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry. بهشون بگین که ما محتوایی که جهانی باشه ولی رنگ و بوی خود ایران رو داشته باشه فکر می‌کنیم که بهترین حالت محتوا رو داره برای فروش. خودتون استفاده کنید.
باشه روشنش کنید. He says we prefer the contents which shows Iran essence, the reality of Iran, but showing to the international market, and content we prefer to use those types of matters.
International language and the essence of Iran, not a huge taste of Iran in our contents. I think the world want this from me, an Iranian director. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you raised a very interesting point, and I think we will come back to this, is that I think as Asian cultures or countries have a strong history, right, and particularly as rich as your country or India or Japan or China, I think we have that uniqueness that we bring because we are ancient cultures. So we definitely have a lot to offer, but I think it's always critical to ensure that how much of it is enough, and I think an interesting parallel here is in food, right? I mean, if you eat any cuisine, like for example, Indian cuisine is typically known because it's extremely hot or spicy. But if you eat at restaurants outside India, for example in London, you would find that the spice level is reduced for a more global palate so that they don't have to run to the emergency room after eating tandoori chicken. So I think and I think it's the same in your country as well, that there is some beautiful culture, but at what level do you keep it so that it doesn't become overwhelming? And do you do this? Do you think this is important even in children's stories as well? Do you find that you need to sort of keep that sort of?
من فکر میکنم که فارسی دارم صحبت من فکر میکنم که صحبت کردن با زبان جهانی مهمترین چیزی هستش که ما باید روی کانتنتمون داشته باشیم. و توی ایران خیلی ها به من میگن تو چرا انقدر کارات خارجیه، ایرانی نیست. خب اینو بگین تا قسمت بعد.
He is saying that in most of my works, the animation which he made, he is showing international languages, because mostly people they are telling him why you are making all this animation so that people on the world, all over the world, they like it. It's not just specific for Iran. It's not special for Irani people. He likes to make it so that all over the world they like it.
و جوری هستش که خیلی ها تو ایران به من میگن تو خیلی خارجی کار میکنی، ایرانی نیستش. خب اما جالب هستش با توجه به اینکه توی ایران میگن تو خارجی کار میکنی، ولی در خارج از کشور کارهای منو که میبینن میگن ما طعم ایران رو از کارهای تو داریم میگیریم.
And foreign out of Iran people, they say that we can see the Iran culture you are showing in your animation. We can feel it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to
Force it.
Yeah, force
fair point.
the taste of Iranian. In Iran, they say your animation is not Iranian. They say in Iran
It's more universal.
In Iran, in government, they say your style and my style too is not Iranian. But I think because of I am an Iranian person, the taste of my personality, my history, my genetic is in my animations, and it doesn't need to I force the
it doesn't do our part.
taste,
I see your point. Yes.
In it, and I think it's better in music, in design, in and directing and decoupage. I do anything in international ways, but I think my genetic, my history change in Iranian taste a little.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. So I want to come to you, Ketan sir. You've obviously produced some really stellar IPs. Quite a lot of it is deeply rooted in Indian culture, Motu Patlu being one of them, and so many others. So obviously, a lot of your shows are hugely successful within India. But what is your experience when some of these content, when it goes international, when you go out and seek distribution for your content outside India? How is that experience? How is the reception of some of your shows globally?
I think the basic problem that we have been facing is that all these channels and the producers, so-called, are primarily international companies looking for Indian market.
Yeah.
So they are catering to create specifically for the domestic market. When you create for specifically for the domestic market, it has very little resonance outside the country. And that is the problem, that it's a kind of a vicious circle that we are caught in. It's a bind that we are caught in, because all these multinational channels are actually just trying to penetrate your market. They want you to create only for your, specifically for your market. And when you create for your market, you somehow close out or shut down shutters on the international market. So I think somewhere we need to break out of this. On one hand, we need a creative ambition, which is greater than just your domestic market. You need a global mindset, which says that you are reaching out to the whole world. And just as he said, it is not just for your own market, but it is, I mean, we are all global citizens now. In one way or the other, we are exposed to content from all over the world. In our minds, we are also creating and reaching out to the world. So what are the basic constraints? There are two constraints as far as I can see. I mean, two are psychological, that we haven't really cultivated the global mindset, and we haven't really triggered our creative ambition to say that we are the best in the world. And we are. I mean, creatively, there is nothing wrong with us. We are the most creative civilization that the world has seen, in a sense, So, what are the two constraints? One is basically the cost of money, which negates the basic cost of production advantage that we have. In India, the cost of money is phenomenal and counterproductive. Number two, lack of distribution network. We haven't really cultivated a global internet distribution network.
I think that's a very, very important point that you bring up.
And these are the two basic constraints. Break these constraints and you are there. I mean, we have amazing talent. We have absorbed technology over the last 25 years. And we are capable of creating content for the whole world. And I think it's the time that we break this glass ceiling and achieve it.
No, yeah, absolutely, I agree with you, sir. So I think it's you raise a very important point that broadcasters today are trying to look at the Indian market. But I think in the last 10 years, the taste of the Indian audience has also evolved quite a bit. I think case in point being, if kids in Patna can appreciate anime, I think time has come for our audiences to also be more receptive to different kinds of content. So Vaibhav, I want to come to you. You obviously did a beautiful show, nominated show Lamput. So what was the genesis of that show? Were you trying to create something specifically for the Indian market? Were you trying to what was the thought process when you were sort of creating the show?
So for us, actually, we are the audience first. I'm not thinking which market I'm going to create this for. With Lamput especially, it was a simple wish list to have fun, which I think is fun. And if I'm happy with it, I'm hoping that my entire audience will be happy with it. In the case of Lamput, it's non-dialogue. So it's already,
it's already universal in that sense.
Yes, and the stories that we come up with are very, very simple, and those who've seen Lamput, they know that. So, frankly, we never planned that it would be for this market or that market. The only thing as we went about making was to keep in mind that it will not be extremely Indian. And the concept was so simple or universal that it did not have to be Indian, like what even Mohammed was mentioning. In the case of Lamput, particularly, it was not rooted in any particular culture as such. So apart from Lamput, a lot of our work is very, very rooted in the Indian culture.
Obviously, yeah. You have your own brand of content that you make.
Yes. So the discussion that was happening, it's very, very exciting, and maybe I will share some more on that later. So you asked about Lamput. So my confession is that it was not planned specifically for India or for the global. Yeah, the property itself had a very universal kind of an appeal. So we kept the storytelling and the visual design in that way.
Right. Sorry, Mohammed, you wanted to say something.
ببخشید من این نکته‌ای رو میخوام بگم. یه فرق خیلی بزرگ بین صنعت فیلم شما و فیلم ما توی ایران هست و شما صنعت فیلمتون جوری هستش که میتونه درآمدهاش به تولید فیلم‌های بعدی منجر بشه. ولی توی ایران، یعنی ما اگر به بازار جهانی فکر نکنیم، فیلم هامون درآمدش به تولید فیلم بعدی منجر نمیشه.
There is a huge differences between film industry in India, means animation or any other type of movies, films and others, and Iran industries. Especially animation he's talking about. They should, in Iran, we should think about the earning benefits which we earn after releasing the animation, after selling in the markets. We can do it further work. But here, of course, it is different. It's not like that. It's not like Iran.
Yeah. We have to. We have to think about other countries. We have to, because the earning money in localized cinemas is not enough for budget of next film producing for animation in Iran.
Yeah. So, I think you're absolutely right that when you are today producing a high quality animation series, it's normally very difficult to recoup it just from your own market. I think even within India, if you want to today produce a high quality show, it's hard to just recoup within India. Although India.
You have better cinemas.
Yeah.
Huge of audience in India that they go to cinema and watch animation and movies, but in Iran there is not enough audience and cinemas to earn enough money.
Fair. I do take your point, but I think in India, from a global standpoint, if you just talk about films, the box office price, the price of a ticket in India is probably not as high as you compare with most other markets. Also, I think within that, just to qualify that a little, primarily when you're producing content, you're either producing films for theaters, which in India is an extremely difficult proposition, and I'm sure Vaibhav will talk about it a little because he's just made a beautiful film called Return of the Jungle. But television, and what Ketanji has a lot of experience in producing that is a very different thing, because you are producing for the channels. Most of the time the content is being commissioned by them. I also wanted to share my own experience of producing a show which is driven by the whole idea of trying to tell Indian stories. So, over the years, I've made different kinds of movies, series. Let me share a series that I created a couple of years back. It's called Deepa and Anoop. It's a Netflix original, and the whole idea with that series was that I wanted to sort of bring Indian culture, the aspects of Bollywood as well, to a global audience. When I did that, I was very conscious of the fact that I wanted to keep it at a level where basically it doesn't become too overbearing, so that it's so Indian that it's lost on a global audience. At the same time, it's enticing, unique enough, for people to sample it. It's a personality. Like if you see a movie like Lion King, for example, right? It gives you a beautiful insight into the African culture, right? Music, all of that. So I think we did that. So when we were doing Deepa and Anoop as well, our conscious effort was to keep it at that level where it's interesting. So it's the whole story is centered around a bed and breakfast motel or a hotel, if you like, that is run by an Indian family in the US. So Deepa is a 6-year-old girl, Anoop is a color-changing elephant. But through these and the kind of guests that come into that hotel and stay, we sort of talk about these things, So again, the idea was that there is a grandmother who talks about, who cooks food. So we see different things from that standpoint. Yes, Indian family. So again, and I think it was remarkable for us to, before last, win 4 Kids Screen Awards. We won the Best New Show, Best Inclusivity, Best Music, Best Voice. And I think for me, it was a huge endorsement of the fact that yes, there is a market for Indian content, done right, produced for a global market. The series was released in 27 languages worldwide, But also I think what's important to understand is that how much or where do you sort of set the bar? I think that's, of cultural perspective. Also, I think the other important thing, is demographic. and I want to come to you, Jackky, with that, because I know you're doing something very interesting with kids. Is that when you're producing content, who are you producing for? What is the audience? Is it a 0 to 5? Is it a 6 to 8? Or is it 8 and above? Is it young adults that you're producing for? And I think that segmentation has already been there in the market for a while, and now I think it's even more. So, Jackky, I know that Just Kids is a very interesting venture that you've started. So tell us how you are going after that market of kids and what is your approach?
So primarily Just Kids is for age from 0 to 6, and I actually started a music label 4 years back, and I was very, very infatuated with the animation space. And like veterans like y'all, I did not have that experience on the animation front, so I thought the best, most low-hanging fruit for me is doing animated content and marrying that with music in phase 1. Also, I realized, like my nephew and niece, and today parents are very worried about what are they watching on YouTube, and you cannot separate the young generation from technology. So I thought that Just Kids could be that one-stop shop as an infotainment or edutainment, where they are learning something new through animated content and marrying music with that. So it enters your subconscious mind. Yeah. And the most famous example we all know in terms of audio is Baby Shark. They teach you relationships through Baby Shark, Uncle Shark, Mama Shark. So we've already put out around 14 assets, and the idea is to put out 200 assets in the next 2 years. Also, like everyone's been talking, I've been really observing, is, like Sir said, cost of capital distribution network. We've been in filmmaking business for over 3 decades, making one of the largest films, and we are still struggling as to what to do on the live action space. So on the animation front, of course, like Sir said, firstly, Sir, you don't need to communicate that well in your language. Your content does that. It's amazing. And the biggest thing is that what Ketan Sir said, that we are making content for international companies who come to India and say, "Ye banao hamare liye." So hum ye bana rahe hain. Yeah. But if it's the other way around, where you have local players, or if NFDC Sir does, empowers us, where we say, okay, we tell Indian stories on a global level. फिर ये तो अभी ट्रेलर है, पिक्चर तो अभी बाकी है. Absolutely. मौका तो दो. Yeah. मौका मिलेगा तो फोड़ देंगे. So I always feel that we have so much talent here. We just need the right capital, and we need the right platform, and then I feel sky is the limit for us. That's what I would say.
Yeah. No, I think, what's happened is that, see, when these channels came into India, they obviously came with their bag of content, right? With their own library, they dubbed it. It didn't work. For most of these channels, I think it bombed. I remember in 2004, I produced a show called Jai Bole To Jadoo, where I acquired the rights of Jadoo, the character from the movie Koi Mil Gaya. And my whole point was that, it's hard for you to establish any IP. Right? Typically it takes time. I mean, one of the reasons why anime is so successful, because they have hundreds and hundreds of hours of content. So if something sticks, you have, a go down full of content to serve out. So when we did Jadoo, the reason why I decided to choose that as a piece of content and lead with that, obviously we wrote a whole show around it, right? Is because it was already established. I read a piece of, there was an article that came out, I think, in one of the film magazines, which said that actually Jadoo is more popular than Hrithik among kids, right? And that sort of triggered, I said, wow, that's a very interesting fact, right? So, and I think at a certain level, if you see today, like right now, what's happening in kids television in India, I think a lot of spin-offs are happening from Bollywood, whether it's Little Singam Fukre boys, so much of that is happening. So, Ketan sir, do you feel that while that might work within the Indian context, but do you think that these shows sort of have an opportunity in the international market?
Not as they are.
Right.
I think it's just as Indian films also have a limited kind of a market outside, though increasing, but we have to change the mindset, really speaking, saying we are producing for the whole world. And that is the mindset with which we have to begin. Yes, we are rooted. Yes, we have strengths. Our culture is strong. It can be expressed, but then it has to be received by the whole world. And that mindset is which has to be ingrained in what we create. Motu Patlu is a series that we have been doing for the last 12 years. The most successful series that, in the market.
Yes, it is.
Very, very Indian. About 2 characters in a small town in India. Though it's so successful in India, when we go out and try and sell it outside, the response is very limited. On the other hand, that's why the mindset is it's necessary to change it. What one is trying to do now is a project called Kim, which we are doing now. Rudyard Kipling's novel about an Indian character based in India in 1890s or so, an adventure which is universal. So an already established brand which is international in that sense, and create a product for the global market and try and compete at that level.
Yeah, no, very true. So, Vaibhav, your new film, Return of the Jungle, right? What was your thought process when you sort of came up with the idea? Did you have a specific audience or an age audience that you were aiming for with that film, or you thought that I want to go out for a much wider audience? Can you share that thought process?
See, I think like the way the discussion is also building, my thoughts are becoming clearer on the front that in the live action Indian cinema, more than 100 years of our history, we have created such an amazing market within the country. Whether we are producing a horror genre or a romantic genre, erotic genre, or horror meets comedy or drama, any genre, there are so many amazing directors telling their stories their way. As a result, we have a huge market not only in our country but globally. For our cinema or the kind of stories we want to tell, we still have song and dances the way we want, whenever we want it, and we love it. So I feel we have not done the same in animation. And at that stage, we are still like fledglings. This is my personal thing. I cannot make a global film because I don't know a global audience. I've been making films for the Indian audience for more than 2 decades, and I think I have a pulse of that because I use my medium of animation. I'm clear when I know my audience, I know that something will appeal to them or something will not appeal to them. And then I can very confidently give them what I like. So this is the approach we've been following, like even with Return of the Jungle, it's a feature-length film. It's our debut feature film, which on 21st we are going to see it here. So for me, again, like I said with Lamput, for me, I am the first audience. And growing up in India for so many years, I have figured that, okay, there are certain things we are not seeing in mass medium captured in animation. Some of our stories, and the irony is we are the land of storytellers. Historically, stories from here have traveled the entire world. And our storytellers didn't think कि मैं पूरी दुनिया के लिए film बना रहा हूँ. They had a certain, they told it for their audiences. They kept cooking up and refining their stories as per their audiences. So I think that at least I'm not taking that load that I want to entertain the whole world. I know my audience. I want to first give them content that I know they will connect with. And that is stories I grew up with, stories that have inspired me. And in the field of animation, like I said, I think we need to first crack India. If we cannot entertain India, forget the globe. We will, otherwise we are neither going to be there nor here. When you are talking to a global audience, you will probably dilute your own flavor. I probably have not even reached that level, so I want to first focus on my audience and hopefully create a commercial success, because that is most important. We can all create lovely films for audiences, but if the audiences don't consume it, I cannot make my next film. So So we are at that crucial junction where we've invested in our own, in making a feature film, because I'm sure we all know that it's at the lowest point. We are at the worst point when it comes to Indian animated feature films. Losses after losses after, we probably dug our own grave. We are all trying too hard to, get out of it. We are doing the same, and when there was nobody to fund it, it's a small team of ours that has funded the entire feature film over many years with our savings. But the focus is very clear. This is for the Indian audience and the entire diaspora globally, because it's a huge diaspora. So I am seeing a very huge market there, and if the film doesn't work, then maybe I would be wrong. But I want to make it work. Making it work, like making the film, I realize is just half the job. The other half, like we're all discussing, the distribution, reaching it to its audience is such a big challenge. More than half, very true.
It's 80-20.
True. Good. So we finished 20, we are heading towards 80.
And sir, it's 99-1. Because, I think Vaibhav, you raised a very, very important point of reaching out to the audience and ensuring that the film does reach out. I think as filmmakers, you can make an honest attempt of making a good film, right? And I think many times, I think not just within animation, even in Bollywood, you see this very often, that good films, brilliant films, sometimes because they don't get the right distribution, they don't reach the desired audience, So, Ketan sir, given the fact that I think the kids broadcasting space is now fairly well established, right? What do you think we need to do, but we still feel that there is a huge part of the kind of content that is today being produced is sometimes stopped at the gates by the broadcasters, because they feel that this won't sell, right? And I've faced this with Krishnesh Baltiboy, my own series, when we made it, and I went ahead and made 2 films of my own, and then subsequently it went on to Cartoon Network and it did exceedingly well. I think the question here is that what do you think we need to do, obviously within the broadcasting space and then within the movie space, that for beautiful films, not just I would say animation films, but children films, again, reach out or find that audience or are given a fair shot?
As far as feature films, animated feature films are concerned, as Vaibhav said, we don't have really a 100-year history of that.
Yeah.
We are still at the beginning stage of trying to break into the market of animation films. But it's time. I think we have reached a threshold where we should take off. Right. And that basically requires, just as I said, creative ambition and a drive to do it. We just have to do it. Otherwise, there's no way of proving a point.
Yeah, but I think what many times what happens, and I'm sure a lot of the people who've made animation films will tell you that, see, the normal challenge today that you face is that a distributor is never confident कि यार सलमान की picture लूँ या animation film लूँ. Whether do I, get a top Bollywood filmmaker, or a actor, like a Shah Rukh Khan or a Salman Khan or a Hrithik or, Tiger Shroff's movie, or do I put up an animation film, right? Which is going to sell more popcorn and samosas and coke.
Yeah.
How do you break, or is there a way to break that mindset?
What is interesting at this point of time is that even the live action guys don't know.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is we are going through a process of churn The audience tastes are changing dramatically. They are getting exposed to the content from all over the world, and so there's a churn happening in the audience. There's a churn that has to happen in the production or creative people as well.
Yeah.
And somewhere they have to meet, and we have to, just as we make films and hope for the best and say this will break through. Similarly, we'll have to keep making animation films, and hope that and somewhere we will have to come together and create a distribution platform which will reach out to the whole world.
Okay. Jackky, you had a point to make.
So I'm saying that I'm at the cusp of animation, and on the live action front I can say more, but like what Sir was saying, that no one has any guarantee of who is going to draw the audience today, right?
Very true.
And even the theatre owners are struggling because their OPEX is very, very high. And my personal thing is what pandemic has done, it's, exposed everyone to the world content. Would generally take 10 years. We've done that in 3 years.
Yes.
So, as Sir said, there are too many moving parts. My personal observation is that audiences want to see an honest attempt and something fresh. If that's in an animated form, they will see that. If that's in the live action form, they will see that. Of course, live action has an edge because it has 100 years of history. But because of technology today, I don't think animated content will need 100 years. I think in 5 years we can be there very, very easily.
Yeah.
But it has to start today. And like what Vaibhav is doing, or like what Sir is doing, if there are correct platforms available, correct distribution network, and we'll have to come together.
That's
and
right.
I genuinely feel, because at the end of the day, it's audio video content, right? I'm going in and I'm being sold illusion, right? And if I'm getting entertained or educated, or I'm getting moved, or any kind of emotion I'm feeling, it could be any form, I will go back and recommend that to friends and family.
Yeah, word of mouth.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah. So I think at a certain level, the reality check or what's happening now within the movie space clearly is a wake-up call for the industry that maybe it's time to experiment and see what works. I think, like we were talking earlier, that something like Lapata Ladies can work and do so well. I think more than the people in the business, I think the audience is in a mood to experiment, and I think it's time the industry answers that.
That's right.
With saying that, all right, you want to try out different stuff, we'll show you different stuff, right? So I think it is. I also feel that one of the pieces which I've always very passionately believed in, which is missing in the Indian ecosystem, is the public broadcaster for kids, right? Because that allows you to do a certain form of content, and the kind of content which conventionally isn't possible, right? And I think I think it's really great to see what the ministry is today, Information Broadcasting Ministry, is doing to help our industry. I think the co-production funding is the right step. The FFO with single window clearance is again a very good step. I think just the way MIFF has scaled up, I think kudos to the NFDC and the INB team that they are giving us these platforms which are becoming much larger, right? So, and I think maybe as industry we need to continue to push to sort of have some of these things like a DD Kids channel needs to come up, and hopefully, that will help.
I must congratulate you and Ashish, first of all, for really pushing this through for the last, I've seen them struggling for the last 10 years.
Thank you.
And finally, the government is waking up to the fact that it can actually proactively do something for the animation sector, and finally it's happening. So congratulations to Munjal and Ashish and Vicky and everyone.
Thank you,
have
sir.
managed to do it, and hopefully this will turn a page.
Yes, sir. We are not giving up on that front. Yeah. Thank you. With that, I'm going to open up the floor. Can we have the questions, please? There's a gentleman here. Can we have the mic for him?
Sir, it's a pleasure to watch and listen to you. Thank you, MFF, and thank you, Ketan ji, thank you, Jackky, Thank you, Kumar. Munjal. Munjal, do you mean to say that people like Shyam Benegal have exhausted, I mean, people, veteran filmmakers, the channel and the windows and the doors have opened to, they want to see fresh faces. Now, come to think of it, that Jacky और शाहरुख कल फ्रेश होके आते हैं तो उनको ही रिपीट किया जाएगा, राइट? उनकी फिल्म पब्लिक देखेंगे, a new शाहरुख in a new hairstyle or a new Jacky or a new धर्मेंद्र with a clean shave. Do you mean to say that मेरा बोलने का मतलब है केतन जी आपने समझा मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ?
See, I think, so I get your question, sir. I think the question is not about whether Shyam Benegal, sir, is now, his style of filmmaking is dead. No, I think with I think where we stand today, there is space for audience would want to watch a Shyam Benegal category of cinema.
No, Manju ji, I'm very sorry. In fact, very short. मेरे बोलने का ये मतलब है कि now the world doesn't know what will work. The film industry doesn't know what will work, what will be successful. And let me be very honest, coming from my heart, is who has the time to watch all this entertainment? Why not give time to your well-being or health or physical exercises? I mean, who are the people who are watching, first of all, films, or who have the time to watch on Netflix or a 3-hour film?
Sir, you should just watch the data. Believe me, people are watching a lot of content. We are at a point in our history where people are watching far more content than probably what we used to a decade back. Yes, Ravi.
Yeah. I think the Doordarshan kids thing should start digital, or like it should be an YouTube channel. The public broadcaster himself, I think that's a very low-hanging fruit, and they can enter from that space.
Yeah, so I don't completely agree with you. I'll tell you why. Because even today, terrestrial has a far bigger reach. I think what we miss out on the point is that sitting in cities, we realize that everyone has access, to digital. Everyone is willing to spend a couple of $100 on a data pack. Reality of India is very different from what you see in cities. A lot of people still watch terrestrial, still watch Doordarshan. Like free dish is a very big thing today, right? People don't mind spending the 1,000 rupee and getting that free dish box. 55 million homes today have free dish, and that they are watching it, So I'm not saying that it's an either or. I mean, I know that the government is putting up an OTT platform as well, and I think we should probably be hearing on that front very soon. But I think there are different starters of the audiences, and I think as people who are driving policy, one needs to cater to that wider audience.
Good point.
Thanks. Yeah.
Hello, sir. I was an animator in Reliance before. I just wanted to ask that how do you think TV distribution will evolve in adult animation?
Sorry? How do you think Indian animation will evolve with for adult animation? You think there is a market for it?
Yes.
Ketan sir?
Most certainly. Unfortunately, the television channels or the platforms still haven't grown up to it.
Yeah.
But the fact is that animation is universal. It knows no age limit. So yes, there is a huge market which hasn't been tapped as yet. I believe it too.
So, Vaibhav, you have a point of view on this?
No, I just feel, content creators should create the content they wish to, because everyone has very, very unique ambitions. And if it's for adults, it will find its way. Like new mediums of, finding your audiences are approaching, are evolving every day. New platforms are coming up. So the distribution mechanism also, there will be some disruptive thing that will happen, and we will reach our audiences. So I think every content creator must, put their effort in creating the, the stories that they want to make. So if it's for adults, they should go ahead and do it. There will be a, a platform for that.
Yeah.
Globally. And, if and ensure that your audience gets to see it, and if it's consumed, then yes, there will be more demand for it. Like we discussed, there is nothing that can be predicted that this will work, this will not work. You create and check.
Yeah, I think to more pointedly answer your question, yes, I think there is a market for adult animation. Clearly, people are watching BoJack Horseman in India, right? That clearly shows that there is an audience for that, right? I also feel that, you know, there are filmmakers who are specifically sort of developing content today to cater to that audience. We haven't seen that, but we are hoping that the OTT platforms, or for that matter even broadcasters, might pick up the cue and say that, all right, let's experiment. I know that there are a lot of projects which are due to be released, which are specifically geared for an adult audience, you know. So you will see that happening. I think we also have to realize that, you know, we've probably been consuming animation for about 2 decades. So the kid who was born 20 years back today is about 25. So he's gone past the Chota Beams and the Tom and Jerry, but he still is in love with that medium. So he would want to see what can we as creators offer him in the medium of animation. So I strongly believe that there is an audience, you know, and I think it's about how many of us are innovative enough and bold enough and are willing to take that punt.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I wanted to have an idea. As Jacky sir said, कि मौका दो फोड़ देंगे, and our team is here to meet him and his team, that is Vikas and Sadhana together, and we are coming up with our project called as Pani Log, and for that you guys would see us soon. But as sir mentioned, कि मूवी में जब पैसा लगता है वो चलता है नहीं चलता है, so what is it's always a buying thing or else how things work? Yeah.
What was the question? Is it always a?
Huh?
What was the question?
Movie, for it to work, how does it go? Like, is it just to do your process and let things?
It's a mix of your gut feel and whatever your experience is. You know, any filmmaker cannot predict how well it's going to work or not.
Okay.
You know, I don't think any one of us can predict that. So we go with certain gut feel that we have developed of the audiences. That's why in my case, I was very clear whom I'm making my film for. If I think I know them, then I know what will excite them or not excite them. Again, it's a gut feel. I still don't know. We've just made it, and like everyone said, 80% is still pending. So the verdict, okay, on 21st, if you guys see it, you should tell me whether it works or not. You know, I am not the person to tell that now. I have made the film I was happy with. That's more important. That's the first step. No, Ketan ji, please, you know, add to that. You are the right person to answer that. You know.
I mean, as he rightly pointed out, you're making a film for yourself first. If you're not making a film for yourself, you don't make a film, please. I mean, if it doesn't make you're in the creative field because it makes you happy, right? And if it's not making you happy, please don't do it.
Yeah, Mohammed.
توی ایران ما یک ضرب المثلی داریم، توی ایران یک ضرب المثلی داریم به این شکل که هر چیزی که از دل بلند بشه به دل میشینه. Everything comes from the heart, goes to the heart. این به سن، به کشور، به اینکه لوکال هستش، اینترنشنال هستش و اینها اصلا بر نمیگرده. همونطوری که دوستم گفتش، شما فیلمی رو بسازین که از دلتون بلند شده باشه، مخاطب خودشو چه لوکال، چه اینترنشنال، چه کوچک و چه بزرگ به خودش میگیره و به نظر من باید از دلتون شما حرف بزنید.
In Iran, we used to say that whatever comes from hearts definitely affects to the hearts also. And it doesn't relate to the age, to the groups, to the language, to the culture, different countries. We make it by all our hearts, and we like effects to all the hearts of people's souls.
Yeah, I think that's.
I would actually like to add to that.
Please.
You know, there are two kinds of content now, right? One is theatrical and one is OTT come broadcast, where you are sitting at home at your convenience. Either it's a monthly package or it's, you know, free subscription or whatever it is, where at your comfort you're sitting and trying to watch the content. The way you look at content, the way you judge content, how forgiving you are is completely different from when you are watching it in theater. And there are too many moving parts. Today most expensive thing is someone's time. Like sir said, like you said, people can also choose going to a restaurant, going to a show. At that time, has some similar kind of content come in the recent past? So, I want to skip this. So, the way you perceive content at what medium, it's like being a cricketer, right? आप जिस तरीके से test match और 50 overs देखते हो, वैसे T20 नहीं देखते आप. So, and then apart from God, I think no one else knows.
Yeah, so I think, obviously you heard the stellar panel, but I think the last takeaway is very clear that make an honest film or an honest piece of content that you have to be excited about. अगर आपकी film में आपकी content में वो passion होगा, वो honesty होगी, तो वो झलकेगी and the audience will get to appreciate it. Some of the most beautiful films are ones which have been made, come straight from the filmmaker. It's hard, If he or she is passionate, that passion will translate on screen and it is infectious, So with that, thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. Thank you so much, an amazing panel. A round of applause for them, please. Thank you so much.
We would also like to express a profound thanks to Mr. Munjal Shroff, sir, for expertly steering today's critical dialogue. We also extend our gratitude to our panelists for their insightful contributions to today's discussion. We acknowledge the National Film Development Corporation for hosting this festival under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and extend a heartfelt thank you to you, my audience, for your engagement this afternoon. This is Ayushi Dolakia, your host, signing off for this afternoon.